The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and are not those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. The phone lines are open. Call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. It's time for Stuart Laser Talk with your host, Dr. Tred J. Rizacker.
I'm 5'10" and 242 pounds.
I always say this is the biggest I'm ever going to be, and I said that like 20 pounds ago.
A third of Americans are obese, another third is overweight.
Obesity is the biggest threat to the health, welfare, and future of this country.
I've always been overweight.
I've got diabetes.
Sleep apnea, heart disease.
Everything's hurting now.
It's a lot easier to lose weight than it is to keep weight off.
This is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
18% of our children right now are obese.
It's not only health, it's about survival and well-being of the United States as a nation.
You don't crave broccoli, and our generation has grown up craving a Big Mac.
I want to think that there's something better for me.
Unless we're able to control this epidemic, we're going to have an abundance of chronic disease.
All of us have to be part of the solution to reduce obesity.
The weight of the nation is out of control, but we can fix that.
If we don't now take this as a really urgent national priority, we are all going to pay a really serious price.
Obesity will crush the United States in oblivion.
Good morning, Stuart, Florida. Good morning, Treasure Coast. Good morning, the world. Because, yes, this is worldwide broadcast. It is streaming online. You go to WSTU.com, right? Is that it, Evan? WSTUTV.com, and you can get this and listen in on it. And, yes, it's also on my Facebook Live. If you'd like to go to Slim Body Laser Spa, click on it. You can see it. And I'm also looking down here at my little GoPro. I am just so full of technology these days. I can't believe it. I just wish there was something that come in and wake me up and lift me straight up and drop me. I got this perfect idea for a big kitchen counter. Okay. And this is where my mind goes. It should be a counter that can actually flip over and rotate. So you put all your plates and all your dirty stuff on it, and then you take the counter, and as you rotate it, it flips over. Underneath, there's a washing device that cleans it, and then you wait for it to dry, and then when you come back, you just flip it back over again, and it's all clean. Yeah, I know. 61, kind of bored these days. I got a lot of time on my hands, and I hope you do too, because that's what it's about. You're listening to Dr. Tred Rizacker, Slim Body Laser Spa Health and Wellness Show, with an emphasis on how today's medical lasers are being used to help us to look better, to feel better, to have less downtime when hurt. I never thought in a million years I'd be sitting here telling you that these low-level, non-invasive laser devices are so effective. It amazes me every single day when I go into work and I see all of the people and all the testimonials on the walls. Over 6,000 people have been through the process of using a red light laser lipo machine to lose stubborn body fat, to tone and tighten chins, bellies, cankles, you name it. The old bat wing that flops around under your arm is being addressed. A red light. I mean, no surgery, no burning, no injections, no freezing, no sucking, no anesthesia, no dangerous procedures, no $10,000-$20,000 out of pockets. If you're lucky to survive, you literally lay on your back, take a power nap. Well, the girls apply the paddles. Some people sleep through the whole process. 30 minutes of laser lipo application to the soft tissue, the fatty areas, your burgeoning, that are hanging out over your belt, and that you're hiding under all those loose fitting clothing, all that subcutaneous fat. This laser takes 1/8 of an inch of fat off every time you put it on there. It's like a cheese knife, taking a thin layer of cheese every time you do it. So when you apply these paddles, like around your arms or under your chin or over your belly, your fupa there hanging over your stomach, 1/8 of an inch of fat is emulsified. It's released just under the skin. And then we use whole body vibration to move it from the outer space, that under the skin, into the visceral system, into your bloodstream. By basically using whole body vibration. If you're looking, you can see me doing my little shaky here. And what happens is, as long as you're hungry, when you come in, you haven't eaten in about 2 hours, which for most of you is like near famine. You're going to die without food for 2 hours. What'll happen is you'll burn those calories. Those calories are then released, put into the bloodstream by the vibration plate. And over the next 2 hours, you burn off that caloric load, which is about 600 calories. You're not burning stored energy here. You're not burning glucose. You're not burning muscle. You're not getting rid of water. You are burning pure triglyceride, free fatty acids, big long chains of carbons and oxygen and hydrogen. And these free fatty acids are enormous molecules. And when you burn them, your body separates them. It cleaves them biochemically within your cell. And when you cleave it, fatty acid, the byproduct of fatty acids is carbon dioxide and water, right? CO2 and water. Can you imagine that? So and it comes out through your breath. And that's pretty amazing. You don't burn fat. Fat isn't burned. Now, protein you can burn, leaves you with ash. So can carbohydrates. Take a bunch of trees and burn them, and they turn into ash and charcoal, right? Take a bunch of protein, a bunch of animals, and throw them in there and burn them up, and you end up with these black charred remains. The fat's gone. Where did the fat go? Fat is burned by exercising and by burning the calories, and then it's released. The byproduct of fat is carbon dioxide, what you breathe out, and water. And that's really quite amazing, because they've done studies on burning fat and how you can lower fatty, how you can get rid of body fat without exercising and without really changing your diet that much. And what they do is they do it by deep breathing. Just deep breathing, 14 to 20 breaths, deep breathing. Inhale through the nose. Hold it for a second, and then blow it out. Do that 14 times, 3 to 4 times a day. Listen to me. You will be burning fat when you do that without exercise. Now, if you exercise, you're going to get a better fat burn, because now you're liberating fat from the body's stores. But just breathing is how you get rid of body fat. And most people, I didn't know this. I'm a doctor for 33 years, and the question came up on a YouTube video I was watching. What is the end product of fat metabolism? When you metabolize fat, what's left over? and it said carbon dioxide and water. And I was like, really? And then I realized, it's you breathe it out, you're breathing in the oxygen, and then the fat is transferred and it releases energy. And what's left over is CO2, carbon dioxide. So if you want to get a better fat burn, if you want to lose more fat when you exercise, practice deep breathing while you exercise. If you want to walk on the bridge and you want to burn more fat, try breathing deeply as you walk. Like that. You're going to burn more fat. And you're going to get better results. Honestly, I can prove it. So that's my tip today. If you want to burn more fat, practice deep breathing. I did a 1 year every day except for Sunday, yoga instruction with a guru, a guy who was a yoga master who worked with me back in 2006. Yep, I just had come back from New York, and I was working in my chiropractic office here in Stewart. I had just reopened in 2004, and within the first year, this very unusual man. I don't want to say unusual. He was in his 60s, but he had little dreadlocks and he had a little dog with him, and he was a sailor. He was a someone who sails around the country, the world. And he was here. He bought a new sailboat in Fort Pierce, and him and his wife, they were going to be rebuilding it and fixing it, and they were stuck here in Stewart for like the next maybe about 6 to 8 months is how long he was going to be here. And he came into my chiropractic office and he wanted to get an adjustment, and which is what I do. And I'm like, well, sure, but I need to check you out and, do an exam, and we might have to take an x-ray. And he's like, oh, no x-ray for me. I go to chiropractors all the time, and I know exactly what's out. It's my hip. It's a little kinked here, and I just need you to push it back in. And I'm like, we could probably do that. I'm not going to deny it. People that go to chiropractors a lot know what's wrong. Not everybody has to be x-rayed. So I started to check it out, and sure enough, he needed just an adjustment. So as I was getting ready to do it, he asked me, would you like to trade adjustments for some yoga instruction? And I'm like, not really. I don't really know much about yoga. Can you tell me more? This is a true story. This was in 2005, 2006. So I said, how do I know you really know what you're doing? You just walked into my office and you want me to do something for free. And so I says, how do I know? So he sits down in my waiting area. Now understand something. This guy was like 60. Excuse me. This guy's like 62, 63 years old. He's got a little dog with him. And he sits on the floor, Indian style, what they call the lotus position. And then as he's sitting with his legs folded, he puts his hands down and he lifts his lower body up. So now he's hovering above, his legs are up and he's on his hands. And then very slowly, methodically, he starts to tilt his head forward and he goes into like a plank, balancing on his hands. So now his body is almost straight across, balancing on his hands. And then in a real quick move, he tucks his chin and he goes into a handstand, never touching the ground. So now he's in a complete perfect handstand in my office. and then he reverses the procedure, goes back, flips back to the plank, flips his feet back up underneath him. And now he's like hovering with his legs crossed and he puts his legs down. And I'm like, dude, you are the man. Holy cow. How did you do that? Oh, I'm a yoga teacher. I travel all around the world, and I go on these sailboats and every all around through the Lesser Antilles and through the Virgin Islands. When I go to places, we park, and typically I teach yoga to people. He was Shakira's yoga instructor in the Caribbean, all kinds of famous people. He happened to have come into my office to get an adjustment. So I'm like, all right, man, I'm in. Where do I sign up? Because I needed what he offered. I was really stiff and painful. My knees were swollen. I had gotten out of shape really bad when I got back from New York. This was 15 years ago. I wasn't feeling well. I remember walking on the seawall fishing and twisting my ankle because of a little change in the grass caused me to lose my balance a little bit. And I twisted my ankle just walking in the stupid grass. That's how weak my feet had become and vulnerable I was. And I'm like in my early 50s at this point. I'm 61 right now. So this was basically really in my late 40s. And he worked with me once. So what we did was he came over to my house, which I had a big open area that faced the river. I was in somebody else's house. Actually, I was renting the apartment and they were rebuilding their house. So we were able to use the inside of the house, the big sliders. And he met me every single morning from Monday through Saturday. He met me. And what happened is we practiced a yoga technique, a practice with me. He spent 1 hour with me doing it. And it was really quite amazing that as I went through this process with him, and then we would take Sunday off. Sunday was the day we took off, so I didn't have to do it on a Sunday. And I met him, came to my house, 7 a.m. From 7 to 8, I practiced this yoga. And he worked with me. I mean, it was really quite amazing how much it helped me. In the very beginning, the yoga was very painful to me, and every move I did was discomfort, and I hurt my shoulder, and I wanted to quit. And he kept me there. He kept me going. Don't quit. You got to stick with it. Don't give up. And I was like, I'm really having a hard time with this. I'm not enjoying this, And he says, you have to overcome your body. Your mind controls your body. Your body should not control your mind, he told me. I've heard that before. So my body is telling me to do something and I follow it. Is that really intelligent? Drink more alcohol, sleep longer. There's all kinds of things your body doesn't want to do. Yet your mind is really in control of your body. It shouldn't be the other way around. And I had gotten into a point of my life where my body was controlling what I did and where I went and who I talked. I mean, it was terrible. And I didn't realize I had given up that much power to my body. And so what he explained to me was the yoga technique that we were practicing is a way of ruling, bringing back into discipline your mind over your body. Why? Because yoga poses hurt. When you're holding a yoga pose and you're standing on one leg and your other leg is extended and you're holding it and your feet start to hurt and you just want to stop, but you got to tough it out. You got to get through it. Every time you get through it, your mind gets a little stronger. Your will gets a little more powerful and you realize that you can overcome these things. And as I went through this process, it started to get easier and easier to make those decisions. It became easier to show up and do what I needed to do at that 7 o'clock and practice it. And I also wrote it down and he worked with me and my legs got stronger. My feet got stronger. He explained to me that there's more muscles in my feet than in my hands. Yet I had been wearing shoes for so long that I had no strength in my feet. I couldn't even manipulate. I couldn't even crunch my toes in because I become so weak. So all of the yoga stuff we did barefooted and he strengthened my muscles. It was amazing. I got so much out of that. His name is Anthony Iolis. So he ends up, now we're in 9 months of doing this. And I am he's like my teacher, man. I mean, there's a term called guru. And I hope all of you someday can find your guru because that's what it is. A guru it's a teacher, but it's also somebody that you trust and they can help you through things. And he became my guru and a very interesting guy. We shared a lot. And one day he told me, he said, I'm leaving. And I'm like, what? I'm leaving. My boat is done. Thank you so much. You were able to help me and my wife. I hired his wife for a month or two to help with the front desk and everything we did helped him refinish his boat. And that day he left. And I'll tell you, man, I felt like part of me was ripped out. I had become dependent and on that guru. And so when he left, I was emotionally disturbed over it. I was saddened by it. Had a little cry and realized that, this is what life's about. People do come and go in your lives and, it's part of life. You have to be able to do it. And what it did is he had left me with my practice, my yoga practice, which we had developed over that whole year of teaching. And it was written down and I recorded it. And I still do it today, by the way. It was it was a super life-changing experience for me to be able to do that. And it wasn't something that I had to do in a group. I didn't have to have a special tape to do it. I didn't have to go to a special building and use these certain equipment to do it. It wasn't something you do with a bunch of other people all the time, like meet you at the gym kind of stuff. This was a personal relationship with my unruly mind, my wildly thoughts and mind, which can sometimes rule me and make me do things I really know I shouldn't. I became a master of it as a result of the yoga practice. And I still do it today. I mean, I did it last night. I woke up last night. I was in an auto accident about 4 weeks ago, and I'm starting to have the soreness from it. And last night I went out in the boat. Saturday is what happened. I went out fishing, and it was a beautiful, calm day. But I did a lot of lifting and bouncing through the waves, and sure, my back was hurting. And I woke up about 3 o'clock last night, and I got on the floor, and I went through my stretching routine that I had learned from Tony had taught me in yoga. Sitting on the floor and pulling my knees and breathing from my abdomen and pulling my knees and the different positions you do. And it relieves that stretching, that pain in my back. And I was fine. I went right back to sleep. And after I did my Wim Hof breathing method, okay, that's another thing I'm doing lately. Wim Hof breathing. I can't tell you how important it is. You go to YouTube and type in under the YouTube search. I think it's for William Hoffman, WIMHOFF breathing exercises. Changed my life. There's a few things I have learned over the years. Chiropractic is one. The use of red light lasers for health and wellness and body fat is another one. And this doing the yoga, of course, was life-changing for me. And so was getting into recovery, I have to say. That was another really big one for me, 20-something years ago. But the Wim Hof breathing is a huge thing for me. And basically, it's deep breathing, 30 deep breaths, and then you exhale and you hold the exhalation for as long as you can until you have to breathe. And, in the beginning, I couldn't do it like 30 seconds without any oxygen because you exhale and then you don't breathe for without any oxygen. And then, as I got better at it, I can do it for over a minute to even a minute and more before I have to take a breath. And then you take a big breath, hold it another 45 minute to a minute and a half till you have to breathe again, and then repeat that 2 more times. And it increases your lung capacity. It helps revive your, it seems to calm me down. I find myself able to go right to sleep afterwards because of the breathing and the oxygenation. And I did end up with COVID a year ago in March, which was diagnosed on an x-ray because I had some pneumonia. And let me tell you, of a scale of 1 to 10, my COVID experience was like a 3. I had 2 or 3 days where I was definitely feverish and felt like crap, but my breathing was never really compromised, except I did end up with a little bit of lobar pneumonia, which was verified on an x-ray. But I had been doing my Wim Hof breathing for like a year and a half every single day, taking these deep breaths. So when I got that stupid respiratory thing, which I wonder if it even is real, but it sure made me sick. Could have been influenza for all I know. And it was amazing. It was hugely important to overcome it and to get out of it from doing that Wim Hof breathing. And of course, my yoga practice where I stretch and do these things. And of course, I'm regularly under the chiropractic care. I get adjusted as much as I can because it works for me. And my only medicine I'm taking right now is I'm taking some metformin because of my blood sugar can sometimes get high if I don't really watch my type of food I eat. So, gosh, that's pretty much where I'm at. I try to drink lots of fresh water all the time. I'm really mindful of my calorie count. I try not to ever eat more than 2,000 calories a day. I keep it into equal amounts. I start my day with proteins. I don't start it with carbohydrates most of the time. Sometimes I might have some, whole wheat cereal or something, but mostly it's eggs, it's bacon, it's ham, steaks, it's, things you would more of a protein base because you're going to build muscle when you eat protein. All right. So that's what's going on with me and my health. Now, I am the owner, a doctor, and a client at the Slim Body Laser Spa, okay? And if you've just tuned in, you're listening to Dr. Tread Rissacker on the Slim Body Laser Spa Health and Wellness Show. And I'm going to go into a little bit about what I do at the Laser Spa so you can understand, because that's really my main message here is come on in and get rid of some of your body fat easily, safely, guaranteed using laser lipo process. And it's not the laser lipo that you buy from China. Hint, hint, you people out there that are buying these machines and thinking that you're going to make $1 million using some knockoff machine from China that you can't even really advertise you have. By the way, if you're listening to this show and you're doing the body sculpting in your business and you're not a doctor and you're using lasers or things out of China, they are against the law. They're not FDA cleared. They're not FDA approved. And they're definitely, they have to be manufactured under an FDA certified, factory. And that's because of the qualifications that are necessary, that the wires and everything is done properly. And unfortunately, these machines that are flooding the market through Amazon and through eBay, these are all Chinese machines, knockoffs. They haven't stopped it. I don't know why the government doesn't step in and do something about it, but they're, you're paying $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 for one of these laser lipo machines. And the heat is the paddles aren't predictable. Sometimes they get hot, sometimes they don't. They can create burns. And the cost of my laser lipo machine, which is out of Korea, which is FDA approved and cleared, began at $70,000. That's $70,000. That's as much as a new Porsche Cayenne, right? 70 grand. I think they're a little bit right about that. That's how much my laser lipo machine cost. And the other 10 that I bought since then, I've got them down to about 30 grand a piece. Now, you think about this as you get these Facebook feeds that are coming out and you're looking at these ads and you're looking at laser, these lipo play. There's one particular in town, which is using these Chinese machines, and, realize that they paid maybe $2,000 to $3,000 for that machine, and claim to have all the features that my machines have. Yet the quality, the FDA approvals, the licensure, the certificates are not there. I promise you, they are not there. Which is why, we are here on the radio and they're not. WSTU 1450 for 12 years talking about this because I got nothing to hide. I really, I want you to learn about this. I want you to think about this. But what really has surprised me lately is as I'm doing a lot more research, I'm seeing so many places offering body sculpting, body contouring, body, whatever it is they're doing. And it's some of them are licensed. Some of them just have an esthetician license, which you are allowed to do that if you're an esthetician. But, if you're using a true laser, it has to be registered with the state, and they're not registering them because there's no certificate to register it with. So buyers beware, we're there to help. We're not, it's 10th the price of liposuction, what we do there. We're half the price of cool sculpting with triple the results without any downtime. There's no possible chance of any burns or any kind of damage to your tissue at the Slim Body Laser Spa. We are 100% safe, predictable process. Done it myself. My family have done it. My wife has done it. Everybody, 6,000 people have done it. Some of the people I went to high school with were there. We've had politicians come in, from senators and congressmen. We've had the presidents of the banks come in. We have doctors' wives that come in. Yeah, Evan did it. There you go. Yep. So it's something that is, you should definitely think about it and keep it in mind. So what we're doing is, and I got this memorized, I don't have to read it. Look, right? We're using a low-level laser device to help speed fat topically to get off the stubborn fat. Okay? It is FDA cleared device. I got to speak into the microphone here. So how would you like to lie on your back for 30 minutes, 3 times per week for 3 weeks, 5 inches of girth? That would be circumference. I myself, in 3 weeks, had a 40-inch belly And in 3 weeks, 9 sessions in 3 weeks, I was down to a loose 38 inches. I did another 3 sessions to make it a total of 12 sessions in 4 weeks, and I was down to a 36 waist. Wow. I mean, I've been to HCG land. I've tried weight, different things. Nothing was as effective or worked as fast as the laser lipo for me. And after that initial drop in, 3 pant sizes, I looked better. I felt better. I knew that this was my option, my shot to lose weight. And at that point, I committed to a diet that was low in refined carbohydrates, had lots of good proteins, lots of good vegetables, cut out as much sugar as I possibly could. That's my suggestion to you. You're not going to cut out all the sugar. Trust me. It's everywhere, but make an effort at least to reduce it. That's what I did. I did that for this. After the first 4 weeks, I lost all the inches. Then the second month, I did the diet. The third month and the fourth month, I lost 10 pounds each month. So at the end of the fourth month, I was down to a 36 waist and I dropped 38 pounds. I'm talking in 4 months. It was dramatic. It was life-changing for me. I documented, I took pictures, I wrote up an article about it, I put it into my story, and that's what you see today. Every time you'll see one of my ads, something online. It's my own results. It worked for me. And at 51 or 52 years old, how old I was at the time, it was life-changing for me because I knew that if I didn't make a change today in my 50s, that I was going to carry this disease process, this fat and all the side effects of it, the health problems, into my 60s and 70s. And that's not an option for you guys out there. If you're listening to this and you're in your 50s or early 60s and you're overweight, you're carrying 20 or 30 pounds of extra body fat, I promise you, you are as sick as somebody who is cutting themselves daily with a knife. It's only a matter of time until one of those cuts turns into an infection and they die from it. That's the high risk. The risk of carrying 20 or 30 pounds of fat around, and if you're not exercising daily and your diet is terrible, which most people do have at the same time, right? They carry extra body fat, they're not exercising, and their diet's terrible. These people are very, very sick. They just don't know it yet. They're going to die, a 40% chance of dying with cardiovascular, well, early than somebody else with because cardiovascular disease is going to get half of us. And the other, 40% are going to die from cancer. Okay. These are statistics that are just really hard to avoid. But what happens is the time that these things happen, the time you get your heart attack or the time you diagnosed with cancer, if you have good body fat layers and you're eating well and you're exercising, these things are old age disease. These things happen in your 80s and 90s. If you're walking around with a lot of body fat, which is inflammatory, and you're not exercising enough and you're not eating the right foods, you're 40% more likely to die prematurely from heart disease, from cancer, from stroke, from diabetes, and other breathing problems, respiratory problems, and not to mention this COVID, the variants. Variant 1, I don't know, A, B, alpha, beta, Phi, Kappa, who knows? Oh, the Xing was one of them. Xi was one of them, but he wouldn't let that happen. They jumped that number because they didn't want Xi Ping to get mad, by the way. One of the variants early in it was set up to be, XI, Xi, and they jumped that for some reason. They went past that because they didn't want to offend Xi Jinping. And name the variant after him. So, but COVID is what's really taking us out right now. It's amazing how many people are running this thing called long haul COVID and still having COVID symptoms, even though they've been triple vaccinated, they've been boosted, and it's not going away. And, I have my own opinions on that, but I can tell you, if you're carrying around body fat, I just watched a show on NBC, CNBC, whatever it was, about a guy who was in Arizona who had been triple vaccinated, had all of his vaccinations and boosters. He got COVID, and then the COVID was gone, and then he ended up with what they call long COVID, and basically he's obese. Now he's not. See him, he doesn't look that obese. He doesn't look like he's big as a house, but I know his body fat's over 35%. And he's been in and out with pneumonia and in and out of the hospital with what they call long COVID. And nobody is pointing out the fact that the guy's morbidly obese. I mean, they're not even talking about it. They're just saying he's got the bad luck of the long haul COVID. So I'm not trying to beat you up, you guys, if you're overweight and you got some extra body fat. But what I'm telling you is that if you are overweight and you're over 50, you need to exercise every day, more so than someone who's not. And if you're exercising daily and you're eating good, wholesome, nutritious food and staying away from processed food, and you're overweight, it's not a big deal. You're actually probably, it's a normal thing for you. But here's the problem. The overweight person is typically not eating properly. They're not exercising as much as they could or should. And this is what leads to the death and the early dismemberment and all the disease processes that come from carrying too much body fat. I was one of them. I mean, I know this from my experience. When I had that body fat at 34% and I was 52 years old and I got on my laser, I was not exercising enough and I had a terrible diet. And I was 40 pounds overweight, and who ended up with type 2 diabetes? Me. It happened very quickly. And it was a wake-up call for me. Thank God I had the laser to use. And I used it, and I got rid of the body fat really fast on the outside. Mind-blowing. And it was motivated me to continue to eat better for the next 3 months. And I dropped the 38 pounds. And here I am today with a 34 waist. And my body fat I'm about 215 pounds right now. My body fat's about 28%. So it's still a little high. I'd like it to be a little lower. And I can, but it's better than 34%. And my blood sugar is manageable. I still do take the metformin because sometimes I like to eat some carbohydrates. And that's just the truth. So if you're interested in finding out more about my body sculpting procedure, my body contouring, we have an offer, a $49 Discovery Day offer. It's on Facebook right now. It's on all of our ads. And it really is, what it really is a visit is $300 a session. Our program is 9 sessions in 3 weeks. So with the tax and everything, it's about $2,800 for my entire program. And there are no upsells. It includes everything you're going to need, the laser, the whole body vibration. It includes a nutritional evaluation with me. We sit down and calculate your body fat percentage so you know how much of your body is fat. It's important to know that. And then also what they call your resting caloric intake, how many calories you burn at rest. If you want to be successful in weight loss, you must know your BMR. If you do not know your resting caloric intake, you can't be successful at weight loss. Your BMR, your metabolism is a product of your habits, your age, your weight, your gender, and how much body fat you have. This is what your metabolism is. You cannot overeat your metabolism and expect to stay thin. It's like a credit score. You can't buy a building or a house bigger than your credit score, can you? It's going to stop you right there. Well, my BMR, when I did this for myself, and I use a machine in my office, it's different than the one you stand on at the gym or the one you do with a calculation, because it's literally passing an electrical current from your foot out to your hand. And as that current moves through your body, you don't feel the current, but it measures how fast electricity passes. So water, muscle, fat, and bone conduct electricity at different speeds. So depending on your makeup of how much fat you have and how much muscle tone you have, it's going to come up with your what they call your basal metabolic rate, your BMR. Pay attention to this, because if you know your BMR and you eat food and stay at the BMR or under the BMR, you're going to lose weight. But you also have to realize that the choices of food you eat have to be real food, quality calories. As Joe Rogan put it, meat and vegetables. I love it. He sums it up. No, man, it's called meat and vegetables. What about what about this? No, it's meat and vegetables. Yeah, so basically I can go to the I can only buy food from the produce area of Publix or the meat counter, right? Yeah, that's right, meat and vegetables. Not pasta, not rice, or not it's not a vegetable, it's a starch. And if you stick to that, meat and vegetables, you're not going to get fat. You can't get fat. In fact, you make muscle, you feel energy, your complexion clears up, your bowel gets better. It's really quite amazing how we have how vegetables. And I did an intake on a client this last week. There was 3 people in the group, and it's a mom and her children, and they're all have committed to the plan, and I'm so grateful for that, because it's going to change their lives. And we went over the food habits. There was really no vegetables in their diet. The mom is in her 50s and the kids are in their 20s, and no vegetables. I mean, and there was one vegetable they liked, and I was very pleased of that. It was broccoli. But I mean, no carrots, no peas, no lettuce, no salads, no sprouts, no avocado, none of the good stuff. And it's going to be a bit of a challenge, because it's obvious. And when I did their body fat for the team, 2 of them were almost over 45% body fat, meaning they were almost half of their body had been turned into fat. And the one of them was only at about 28%. But 2 of them, almost half of their body is fat. Think about that. If you weigh 100 pounds, you do not want 45 pounds to be fat, okay? You just don't. That means your muscle is almost non-existent. Your muscle is less than 10 to 20% of your body is muscle, and all the rest is water and bone and mineral. And that is not a healthy way to be. If you don't have muscle tone, you can't walk, you can't bend, you can't pick things up. You're not going to be able to run, nothing. You're just serving the master, which is your body fat. It becomes your master, and it's a terrible way to be. And we can help you. If you come in, it starts out with a BMR. It starts out with knowing what your metabolism is, and then helping you to plan your food so you're eating to serve the BMR. You have to eat with that in mind. And really, as Joe Rogan says, meat and vegetables. It's meat and vegetables. That's really what it takes. Oh, you got to exercise, but meat and vegetables make up the difference. I mean, you could be a bad exerciser. You could be somebody who is full of stress, and and as long as you got a good meat and vegetable diet and you're not overeating it, you're going to be a healthy person. It's that simple, but we lose touch with that. So at my laser spa, there's no need at anymore. This is not a myth. And this is not out of reach for most Americans. Most Americans, when it comes to body sculpting and lipo and all, it's way too expensive, and it's way out of the reach for them. This laser lipo that I'm doing is something that you can do today for very little out-of-pocket expense. I mean, you can start out with a financial plan that's about $200 a month to get this thing going. And the reward you get with food, with planning, with understanding your metabolism, understanding how your body reacts to certain foods, because there's a lot of food sensitivities we have. They're called food allergies. And if you think that you can overcome a food allergy when you're trying to lose weight, you're absolutely wrong. You might be allergic to beans and legumes. and every time you eat them, you swell and you get bloated and you have bowel troubles, and you don't realize it's coming from the beans or from some other food. There's cruciferous vegetables that a lot of people have a problem with. There's things which cause a lot of flatulence, the cabbages and the and the Brussels sprouts. So we want to help you make sure that you know where your food sensitivities are. And it's simply a matter of omitting things and including things. That's how you determine food sensitivity. If you're sensitive, take it out. Stop eating it and see how you feel. If that's still a problem, then take something else out what you're eating until you figure out what's making you sick. And then you can start putting those foods back in. That's the sane way to do it. And at the same time, we're working on the outer fat, the subcutaneous, with the laser lipo. And this is no longer a myth, and it's within reach. It's now a reality, actually, in the form of today's FDA cleared and FDA approved technology. And we call it low level laser red light lipo machines. Now, there is no cancer or any kind of high energy radiation here. There's no chance of a burn. There's no chance of anything at all from applying these laser energy to your body. And the red light that this machine produces is the exact same wavelength or color as light is in the morning. When you first get up in the morning, if you're lucky enough to get up at daybreak like me, and I face the ocean, I face the east, and when the sun first comes up, there's yellows and there's red light. And that morning light, that red light, is super beneficial to you. It's what activates your cells. It's what starts your circadian rhythms going. It makes you where you want to empty your bowels, the light in your eye. It creates the hunger. It starts the cycle working, and it's turned on by light, red light. Well, that same red light, when applied directly to the skin in a focused way with using these laser machines, they're predictable and we know the power and we know how it works. What it does is it basically opens up the fat cells. It activates your fat cells to release the contents, to spill out into the tissue whatever was held within the fat cell, which is water, glycerol, and fatty acid. Now, remember I said you have to breathe to burn fat? So breathing is part of it. But you got to get it out of the fat cells to bring it into the metabolism. Right now, most of your fat is encased in an adipocyte called a fat cell. It's like a grape. It looks like a bunch of grapes. And, when you hold the grapes up, all the sugar and fluid's not leaking out because the grape has a membrane around it. It has a skin. All of your fat cells are the same way, just they're microscopic. And the way that you open up those fat cells is hormonally. When you're hungry and you need food and you've gone beyond your muscle, you've gone out of the stored energy called glycogen. It's usually within 1 to 2 weeks after you stop eating, you're going to start producing hormones that open up your fat cells. It's called glucagon. And glucagon opens up the fat cells. The fatty acid, water, and glycerol is released into the tissue. It slowly trickles into your bloodstream, and then your body gets energy from that over the next 4 to 5 hours. And then once the energy needs are met, the brain shuts off the glucagon. And if you don't eat food within the next 2 to 3 hours, your body's going to go through that same process again and again and again. And that's how we burn fat. Now, my laser lipo is using red light energy to simulate to be identical to the way that the glucagon opens up the fat cell. It very slowly over time, it causes little pores to form, and then the fatty acid is released. With laser, it takes 6 to 8 minutes of applying that directly to the tissue, releases those calories. So within 10 minutes, you've got the max release. It's about 1/8 of an inch of pure fat. If you move those paddles around for 30 minutes, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes in another spot, you will have released 400 to 600 calories of pure fat, triglyceride, not stored energy, not muscle, not glycogen, which is the stored form of glucose. We're talking free fatty acids here. Now, these fatty acids, it has more energy per kilogram than any other substance that your body has in it. In other words, fat will start on fire. If you take fat and you burn it, it will catch on fire, right? You've seen oil fires. Protein doesn't do that. Carbohydrates don't do that, but fat does because it has a very high caloric amount within it. So when we put these paddles on and these fatty acids are released, this gives you so much energy that you just can't even imagine that the process of coming into the Slim Body Spa, as you go through the process, is energizing. You feel better. You have more energy. You're less tired because your body is utilizing fat for energy. And we're able to bypass the normal pathways and the normal time it takes to release fat because the laser allows us to do that. So that is what we're doing in a nutshell. All of our programs are 3 times a week for 3 weeks. There are no risks at all, like there is with so many of the other procedures, the fat freezing, the hot lasers, lipo. They're all full of problems. Ours is not. The future of spot fat reduction and body contouring and laser-assisted weight loss is my low-level FDA-cleared laser technology. When you apply this laser technology to your subcutaneous fatty layer, this laser therapy will produce predictable, consistent, lasting, sustainable inch reduction without any pain, without any downtime, without any rigid food discipline, without strenuous exercise, as is so common with traditional weight loss and body sculpting. We have openings right now, a few. We've been busy. And but you're more than welcome to give us a call at the Slim Body Laser Spa. My name is Dr. Tread Rissacker. You can go on your phone, type in Dr. Tread Slim Body, Dr. Tread Stewart, Dr. Tread Weight Loss, and that's TRED. Anything close to that will come up with my name because I have a very unique name. I will also offer anyone who comes in to the spa a $49. You can try it one time as long as you mention that you heard me on the radio. And I'll also do a free body fat analysis so you can see where you're at as far as your body fat percentages. And then you can take that information and you will at least have some knowledge as to what to do. So I will see you next week. It is Tuesday and it's August, and we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye. Have a